ever lived within maybe a block from a church or same street? Well, when I was 5 years old, there was a sidewalk from my front door to the front door of the sanctuary. I grew up in a pastor's family, and for this speech, I interviewed both my parents because both of them are also pastors' kids. And my dad's uncle is also a pastor. It's just a whole family of pastors, and so we all kind of grew up in this environment. In pastors' families, there's a lot of stereotypes, so I'm going to be talking about that. There's a lot of culture around being the center of the church, and there's a lot of just positives and negatives. Although being raised in a pastor's family has difficulties and frustrations, through it I went through experiences and developed morals that shaped me into the person I'm grateful to be today. The first thing is stereotypes. As a pastor's daughter, you can probably assume the one I get the most is that I'm either a goody two-shoes or I'm a girl's gone wild. And it's easy. I'm not either. I'm happily in the middle, and that's as every time I tell people. Another one is that we have the Bible memorized. We know every scripture, we know every story. And although some people do study the Bible, most of my knowledge is just from listening to my dad give give sermons every Sunday, and that's pretty much it. I don't do a lot of intense studying. The other one is big, mainly not even just pastors' kids, but proclaimed Christians in general, is that we just sit around and judge people who aren't like us all the time, and that's not true. I wouldn't have any friends if I just sat around and judged people who didn't do things that or they're supposed to. So don't do that. The last one is that we just spend all our time at church. And this is the only one that's probably the most true, because your dad's work is at the church. So you get done with school, you got to go to your dad's work, you go to the church. You hang out in the sanctuary and it's empty. You're probably in youth groups, so you're going there, you're doing Bible studies. That's probably the only one that's pretty true. Now that you have a greater understanding of the assumptions, I'll touch on what life and growing up with the church is like. The big thing is when you move to a new church, your congregation becomes your family. They care about you, and I don't know, you're around them all the time. One of the worst things is that being the pastor's daughter and being in a pastor's family in general, you're expected to be perfect always. You can't make mistakes. You have to say everything that's right, you have to dress a certain way, and there's just a lot of pressure on that. The other thing is being the pastor's family, everyone wants to be involved in your life, so the congregation will throw events for you. So with my parents, whenever they had a kid, it'd be like, let's throw a baby shower, let's buy them a present. So I don't know, it was just weird to have a lot of people hosting an event for one family, so that was fun. And another thing that's really bad is that they just like criticizing things that you do when you do mess up, and they like weighing in on every decision that your family makes. One of my favorite examples of this is my brother. He used to have really long hair, probably the length of mine. He played in the praise band, he played guitar, and there was an old gentleman who came up to my mom after the service one day, and he was like, your son's long hair, it's not how it's supposed to be, it's distracting. If he doesn't cut it, I'm leaving the church. So, yeah, my mom's like, he's in church, and that's more than you can say for people his age, so. So that's not fun. Now that I've established life in the church varies from warm hugs to examinations under microscopes, it's easy to assume that life outside of the church is just as varied. There are positives and negatives. One of the best things is that because you're always together, there's a very strong, and close kind of family. It's a good, kind of stable home environment. One of those things is that you move, and most Methodist families, at least, the pastor's family moves every 3 to 4 years. So I was lucky enough not to have that experience, but my dad moved so many times that he said it really kind of hindered his meeting people. He didn't want to get close to people because he would just leave them in 3 years, and so it kind of made him isolated. Good thing, you kind of grow up with strong morals and values because you are in that environment all the time, so it's good. The other thing is that you don't own your home a lot of times. A lot of pastors' families live in parsonages, and so you just have to keep it in really good shape all the time. And since you're leaving in 3 or 4 years, especially if you have little kids and pets, it's hard to keep that up in a mint condition. To summarize, the culture of growing up in a pastor's family is one of dealing with assumptions and outside opinions on your life. It is struggling to be perfect and fulfilling every expectation others have for you while still trying to make your own, be your own person and make your own choices. I talked about all the different stereotypes that we have to deal with, that a church community can either build a family up or suffocate them with expectations, and that life is filled with positives and negatives. To conclude, my brothers and I don't sleep with Bibles like teddy bears or memorize scriptures for fun. My family is not defined by my father's profession, but because of it we have grown to be individuals strong in our faith and confident in the lives that we choose to lead.